Alright guys, we're continuing our Bonafide series. Hopefully you watched the series on posture and footwork. We're building onto that to talk about head movement now. I want my head movement and footwork to work together. Right now we're going to go over head movement while we're keeping in place first, because I need to understand how to keep good posture while I'm using my head movement. So first of all, we'll go over different defensive moves and then how that works with my footwork and how those defensive moves can also set up my offense. One of the first things that I'll learn is bobbing, just dropping straight down. So once again, we already went over footwork and posture. So we're gonna make sure our feet and hands are in the right place. We have that shoulder width apart, nice slight bend in the knees, chin is down, hands are at cheekbone level. And when I bob here, I don't want to bring my hands up and I don't want to drop with my hands low. So as I bob, I'm just gonna let my hands come to my temples and I come right back up. So I'll find a rhythm, kind of setting that weight foot to foot, being relaxed, having good movement, and then as I bob, I'm just dropping straight down, coming right back up. Dropping straight down, coming right back up. Next, if I was going to slip a jab, if I have an orthodox fighter, I always want to slip to the outside of the punch. And remember, when we slip, I don't want to give up my back. I give bad posture, bad positioning. So when I slip the jab, if I had another orthodox fighter, I'm going to take my head just offline outside of that punch, and I'm going to bend my back leg slightly as I take my head offline, and I make sure my hands always move with my head. If I want, we'll go over it later. First, I want to talk about being in place. But if I wanted and I needed to get outside of that shoulder, we could take this small step here with that jab, or step with the slip, excuse me. And if I wanted, I would slip. And remember, if one foot moves, we're going to move the other foot as well. So we could go here, or I could slip out to a 45-degree angle here. So a couple ways to just get outside of that jab, slipping. First, get comfortable slipping without moving the feet, then get comfortable with moving the feet. Next, we're going to go over slipping the cross. Once again, if I had an orthodox fighter, I don't want to slip and give up my back to where they can get behind me, so I'm going to make sure that as I slip, I get just outside of his punch. And I like to do this a different, some people will lower the shoulder depending on what I want to throw back. Some people will pull back here. I don't mind either one. I'm just going to kind of do a combination of the two, where I'm just going to kind of set my weight. I'm getting my head outside of this center line here. I'd prefer to be outside of that shoulder and just above this lead thigh. If my head passes my knee, I'm going to lose my posture here. My hips aren't underneath me anymore. So I need to make sure that my head comes offline and just above this lead thigh, and I still have my hips to the target. I don't want to be here losing that target. So if I'm slipping outside, I'm just slipping, getting the head offline, slipping, getting that head offline. If I want to slip and step, we'll use both feet, just get right outside that shoulder, and now I've gotten my head to a safe place. Once again, we could even slip and then pivot as well. Just adding on head movement and footwork working together. Now we'll go over rolling the punches. We want to roll away from the punch and underneath. So in other words, if I have a left hook coming, I don't want to drive into it. I would kind of roll away first by setting my weight in this lead hip. And I like to think about doing a little horseshoe movement with my head. So I'm going to take my head from here and do a little U all the way to here, to where I'm loaded back in this right hand. I didn't lose my posture as I rolled because I didn't bend at my waist here. I bend my legs and I let myself drop straight down, and I roll underneath this left hook by coming here. So again, if that right hook came, very similar movement. My weight's in this back hip and I'm rolling underneath and coming back up. So if I roll the left hook, I'm here, right hook, I'm here. We could step with that as well. Roll, roll. We could step and pivot. Roll, roll. I know some people, if we want to stay inside, like to roll tight underneath here, almost aiming. I like to say I'm aiming for the back pockets, coming right underneath. So we roll tight to that angle, or roll tight to that angle, okay? So a lot of times when I'm rolling, I'm getting away. I usually don't have my taller fighters roll too often. If I'm kickboxing, I want to watch out for that. But I just want to be comfortable that as we roll, we have our hands here, and we don't lose our opponent. I don't want it to be too big a movement. If we're doing big movements, it's going to take too long as well. Next is going to be a fade or a pull. Once again, and you'll hear rolling, or you'll also hear some people refer to it as weaving, and it's just getting underneath these punches here. So you'll hear rolling or weaving there, okay? Next is going to be fading or pulling. I can do this a couple ways. One, I'm just kind of bending at my back waist here and fading back. We're just changing the distance from where our face is to that target. So I could fade any punch. I could fade straight punches, I could fade hooks and uppercuts, as long as I'm comfortable. And we could fade and pull two ways. One, I could leave this foot here, where I'm pulling here, or another way where I leave my lead foot stuck in place, and I step back and come in. Step back and come in. I like that one, there's a lot of power. And once again, I like to use my head and my feet together. So we have bobbing, dropping straight down, slipping a jab, slipping across, rolling your hooks, or weaving the hooks, and fading or pulling. I'm gonna bring in one of my partners here. Sorry, I'm gonna bring in one of my partners here, and we're gonna go over some of these same techniques. So if he's throwing the jab, we're both orthodox fighters. If he's throwing this jab, once again, I need to get my head outside this shoulder. So as he throws the jab, I'm going to slip just outside here, and then come back as he pulls his hand back. So he throws that jab, I slip outside and get back. Once again, I could slip outside and I could take a step with this. So as he throws, I slip and step, and now I have this really nice angle outside of the shoulder, okay? Once again, if he's throwing the cross, first he throws that cross, we always make sure that they're aiming for the chin. I want to keep him honest and actually make sure he's trying to aim for the correct place. Once I slip the cross, I'm going to be in this good position. Remember, my posture, I don't want to be pushed or pulled over. So if I'm leaning too far, it's easy to knock me off balance, okay? So I'm good posture. I'm not turning my back to him. I'm keeping him in front of me, and then I'm going to come back when he pulls that hand back. So he throws that cross, and I'm slipping just outside right back. He throws the cross, slip outside and back. If I want, once again, I could step with this foot, so he throws that cross, and I slip here. It's a great position. Or I could also slip and pivot to where he throws, and I slip and pivot, and now we have this great angle as well, okay? I'm always using my head movement and footwork together as much as possible so we can keep good balance. Next, we'll go over rolling punches. So if he's throwing this lead hook, once again, you'll see this load here. I'm turning my hips. So now I'm ready to roll underneath. As he throws this hook, we roll underneath and back up, and now I'm in position to throw right hands, or I could make sure that I could try to push or pull him over as well. So I see that hook coming, we slightly load the shoulders, roll underneath and back. He goes to throw, and we're right here. One more time, he goes to throw, and we're here. If I want to take a step with that, once again, if I want to take a step and be on the inside, couple ways we can do this. I could take a step outside so I see him hook, and I step back here. Or if I want to stay inside, I'm going to step towards the back pocket here. So as he goes to throw, I step here, and I get nice to a good place to eat him alive. Next, we'll go over rolling the right hook. So he goes to throw that right hook. Once again, I can roll here, throw my shots, or he can step out. So as he goes to throw that, I can roll, step out here, and now I have this good angle, same as we did with that cross. Once again, I could roll and stay long and be here, or I could roll towards that back pocket to where I'm rolling towards that back pocket to eat him alive. All right, guys, now we'll go over, went over bobbing, slipping. We actually didn't go over bobbing. So we'll go over bobbing real quickly. Bobbing is one of the easiest things to do. I'm just gonna drop straight down. So whether he wants to hook or throw a straight punch, I just like to drop. I like to bob after I've thrown a combination. So sometimes I'll just hit somebody with 2 or 3 punches and then just drop to see how they react. And I want to make sure usually when I bob, I'm not always coming back up to the same place. Because sometimes if I come back up, I might come back up into trouble. So we want to make sure that sometimes when we're bobbing, we're going to come back up to here or come back up to here, okay? I'm kind of using the bob to set up my movement as well. Next, we'll go over fading or pulling. Once again, I can do this from hooks, where he's going to throw a hook, and I'm going to fade or pull it. Or we can do this with straight punches, where I'm going to fade it or pull it. Couple options here. If I'm really confident, I might not need to step with the back foot. So as he throws the jab, we just kind of lean back and then come back in. Or once again, if I want to add a little bit of power to that, he steps in with that jab, I step back here, then I could come back in, okay? So we can fade or pull with a step, or fade or pull in place if I'm comfortable with the distance. And I understand, I'm kind of reading his distance and timing, and I know where I can pull to, okay? Now we're kind of putting all those things together with the footwork, so I can slip, slip, roll, fade, and I can do all of these movements with my head and have them stay over my feet. One way to do that really well is if I imagine that I had a strike zone. I want to make sure that my head cannot go out of these positions. And what I like to think about is a strike zone, how baseball has. I'm making sure that if I had a strike zone here from his navel to his chin and then inside of his hips, I don't want the head to move outside of that area. So if he starts moving his head outside of that area, he's going to be easy to push or pull over. I'm always looking at posture. If I can take somebody's balance, it makes my night way easier for me. So if his head is coming too far outside, some people you'll see use a little bit of a counterbalance, and they might be able to get they can get away with that when they're using head and feet and they got a good counterbalance. But I'm talking about if I see somebody really leaning over and not having the hips counterbalance, and they're easy to take that posture. So if they're really getting far outside there, it's going to be easy to take that posture. As long as they keep their head movement inside of this strike zone that I like to think about, I visualize that strike zone here. As long as I keep my head inside of that position and I make sure my head moves with my feet so I don't get too far outside of my hips, I can step here, then I should be comfortable and I should always be ready. So as long as my hands are in good position and the head stays moving in that strike zone that I like to think about there, we should be good to go. All right guys, make sure that you're working on these drills, keeping the posture ready, footwork together, and then now adding the head movement with the footwork. So now we should be able to slip punches, roll, step out 90, move in, turning, slipping. And we're always in position to come in or turn out. And I shouldn't be ever losing my posture as we're moving. Good work today, guys.